Hey guys, and welcome to another Challenge Your Stash video. So this time our challenge is it's a use 3 challenge. So we are challenging you and ourselves to use a doily, sequins or bling, and some kind of paint. Okay, so what you see here in front of me is a couple of different experimental things I did. So I recently bought this pad here, which is for gouache. It's a gouache color pad. I don't even know what that means. But I thought it would be some sort of watercolor paper that would absorb the watercolor nicely without needing to add 50 billion things of gesso. So I did some tests on one page and just saw how the watercolors looked on it. And then I thought I would do this sort of circle pattern here. I don't know. I'm not loving it. So we'll see how that goes. And then I had some extra scraps from cutting these papers into 12 by 12. So I tried out my pastel chalks on the paper. And my pastel chalks were like, I don't know, €3 maybe from Lidl. If you're European, you probably know what that is. And it's just a grocery store. It's a German-based grocery store, but they sometimes have some craft-related things. So these are just chalk pastels, and there's 25 different colors. Anyway, so I tried them on the paper. Now this paper has a really cool texture on it. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's some dots. So when I added the chalk on top, you can really see how the dots stand out. And I thought that was a really cool look. So I pulled the colors from the Rediscover Your Stash kit that I'm working on now. So I'll leave a link to the description box to that video so you can see the kit and also join in on the fun if you like. And then I pulled out that purple because I haven't used the purple elements in my kit yet, and then that mint green. And we'll see how this goes from here. So I have to use these strips, some paint, sequins, and a doily on my page. So I'm gonna get making that. Okay, so as always, I'm starting by taking this A3 piece of paper and cutting it down to 12 by 12 so I can use it as my background. And now I'm cutting down that little purple strip so I can layer those nicely, and I'm going to come in with some mixed media because I had to use paint. So I'm going to use some pigment of the chalk, and then I'm going to add in some pinks from my watercolor set there. And I'm sorry that you saw my head there for a bit. And now I'm marking where these pieces of paper are going to go so I know where I want to add the pink paint. So I'm using the packaging technique, and then I'm just slopping it onto the page. So my color ran out, so I'm mixing some more and putting it back on. And now I'm going to bring back in my 2 strips of paper, and I like how that looks, but I don't know, it's just a bit too girlish at the moment. And I also had to add a doily, so I'm trying a gazillion different ways to add a doily on this design, but it's just not really working. So I cut it in half, I cut the ends off, I'm placing it in between, I'm placing it on the side, and it's just a big mess. So then I thought maybe if I scooch over these papers or trim them down, there might be more space to add the doily. I might add it at the top or on the side there, but I just wasn't really liking it. But I decided to leave it on the side for a little bit and see what happens from there. So then I pulled out some photos, and now this is a photo of a blue jay when we went to my grandma's house in Wisconsin last year. And then this is a photo of the squirrel, and I decided to use the squirrel because I had these cute little acorn die cuts and that cute little squirrel die cut from the Amy Tangerine Stitch collection that this was just too good of an opportunity to pass up on using those. And then I decided that the colors didn't really match the photo, like the mint, the pink, and the purple just weren't working. So I started by flipping the purple over and painting the backside with the yellow chalk pastel. And then I didn't really like the mint either, so I'm experimenting with some different shades of blue. But I have a problem with using blue and yellow on the same page because our soccer team here in Cyprus is yellow and blue and orange. So when I see those two colors next to each other, I immediately think that, and obviously this page has nothing to do with that. So now I'm just testing a bunch of different random colors from my chalk pastels to see if there's one I would like to use instead of that mint green, which I completely destroyed by adding some red to the top. Now the other problem I have is red with yellow, because that just reminds me of McDonald's, which I know is probably stupid, but it is what it is. So there's that. So the brown I thought looked nice because it pulled out the brown in the squirrel, and also it matched really nicely with the pink, the paint that I used. So I decided to go with the brown, but just before I thought maybe I could use a green to pull in the green from the trees in the photo, but then I don't know, wasn't really liking it because there's some red in that acorn. I needed something that could also match the red a bit. Okay, so I cut those down, and I have decided to use those two strips, the squirrel up there at the side, and then the two acorns somewhere at the bottom. But at this point, I really don't know exactly where. So then I thought maybe the green will look better, but it will stay there for a bit, but it's not going to work. So then I had to figure out how I was going to use this doily, so I thought maybe I could mat my photo on it, and that is where that tiny piece of doily is going to go. Now, I think this layout would have looked great if I had those tiny doilies that I could fit a 4x4 picture on, and not the huge ones that have like a 12-inch diameter. So anyway, it is what it is. I did use that tiny little piece of a doily, and now I'm going through the Atwell 6x6 paper pad. And I had these little strips of the blue paper, and I thought I could use them as a journaling strip, and it also matched with the blue of that little squirrel. Well, not completely, but it's a good enough match. And I liked how it looked with the acorns there. So I decide I'm going to make a little box there and add the strips, and then I don't know what else to do going on from here, so I decided let's do the title. So these are the Prism stickers that came with the collection pack, and they're by Basic Gray. So I looked at all my stickers and stuff, and then I was still indecisive, so I decided I'm going to glue down what I know has to be glued down and go on from there. So I'm going to glue down the two strips, and I'm going to lightly glue down my photo because I added ATG to attach the doily, and because the doily has holes in it, the ATG goes through the doily, so it's still a bit sticky. So I decided to glue down the photo, but I'm going to move it, I think, a couple of times later. It is going to stay in the same area, though. See, there I go, moving it a bit. And I'm going to glue down those strips with a Zig two-way glue pen, I think is what it's called. I have not completely understood the two-way thing yet, but it works good, so I'm just using it as is. And then I decide on using those yellow letters from that sheet there. Now the problem with those yellow letters, which is why I hesitated in the first place, was that it wasn't an exact match with the yellow of the paper, and they were going to be next to each other. But I decided to get over it and just glue everything and use those, because the black would clash too much with the browns going on this page, and then I didn't want to add more pink or blue because the strips are blue and there's acorn. The acorn has a blue little thing and the squirrel is blue, so I just decided to go with the yellow, and I'm going to spell out backyard animals, because this is a story about how we love looking at the animals in our grandparents' yard when we go to the States, because they live in Green Bay, Wisconsin, in like the countryside, so they have this huge yard right next to a forest. So occasionally we see deer passing through and turkeys, and there's always a bunny and some squirrels and chipmunks, and they're just so cute. So I had to write all that down in my journaling there, which I can't really see what it says, so I won't read to you, but it's basically what I just told you. I don't think it's in so much detail, but yeah. Okay, now I'm deleting those pencil marks that I used for the mixed media that didn't end up doing me any good because I completely changed the strips and I relocated the photo there. And now I'm going to pull in this chipboard to see if there's anything that I want to add from there. And there's all these birds, and in my journaling I also mentioned about how we see birds like blue jays and red cardinals and all these awesome birds that we don't have where I live. So, but that, it just didn't match. So I'm just going to add some foam on the back of my photo and on the back of that squirrel to lift them up and add a bit more interest to the layout because it's a bit plain. Alright, so now I'm a bit stuck. So I'm going to go through and find some washi tape, and I'm going to add a strip there. I'm trying to make that, because there's two solid colors there and there's the solid mixed media, it's a bit too solid. So I'm trying to add some interest to that little to those two papers there. So I added that strip of washi, and that's like a thin washi from Tiger, and then I'm gonna add some of this lace tape, which is also from Tiger. So the pink one has butterflies on it, but because I'm putting it to the side, you can't really tell what the pattern is. Then the yellow one has flowers on it. So I'm just adding a pink and a yellow on both sides of the photo just to bring in the lace tape in a second place other than just that one. And now I'm looking for more things I can embellish with, so I'm going through that chipboard and I find that arrow that was the right color, but I couldn't really figure out where I wanted to place it. And then I'm going to go through my die cuts. So when I go through die cuts, I separate them. I take everything out and I separate the ones into potentials that match the layout, and then ones that there's no way I would use on this layout. And then those I just put back in the bag, and then I go through the other pile of die cuts to see what I want to do. So again, I'm trying to spruce up that section there with the two strips. So I'm going to add two die cuts there, and I'm trying to figure out which one. So that calendar is from Amy Tangerine, and it was a cut apart from the 6x6 paper pad by the Stitched collection. And then I tried to use that smile tag from the Notes and Things mini cork value kit by Project Life, but I just couldn't make it work in the place where I wanted it to go. So I'm going to switch that out in a bit. I'm going through my die cuts again, and I found this a Lovely Day piece that has the pinks and has a bit of a gold foiling, which matches that gold triangle paper clip, which I just placed on the photo just to add some more interest again. And now I'm going to border this whole thing just to ground it a bit and add another little bit of a pop. And I bordered it, I'm using the Staedtler pigment liner. I think it was the 0.1 tip that I used. And now I'm going through my sequins, and I'm going to use the mint color ones mostly, and one yellow one. So I am going to play around with using the mints and the oranges and the yellows, but it was just a bit too much. So I'm just going to use some of the mint ones that are a nice small size, and they just, I don't know, I liked how they looked on the layout. So I thought I was going to add them on that strip to add more of an interest, but I did not like that at all, so I'm getting rid of them. I'm getting rid of the orange ones first, and then I'm going to get rid of the other ones too. So I'm adding 3 mint ones to the bottom, 3 mint ones to the title cluster, and then 3 mint ones to the journaling cluster, and then I'm going to also add a yellow one to the bottom cluster there. And I tried to add a yellow one at the top where the squirrel is, but I couldn't make it work, so I didn't add one. And I think that's about to complete my page. I did write the date and the place at the bottom there just to fill in that last little strip where the acorns are. And I'm gluing down the sequins with this two-way two-way glue pen, and I'm using my scissors to hold down the sequins so they don't stick on my gluey hands. And then I'm also going to take I'm going to do a double border on my layout once everything is glued down, because I felt that the one wasn't enough. So I'm going to border my page again, and I also added those little zigzag thingies. I don't know why, I'm just on a kick using those lately. And then I am going to take a paper clip and dismantle it so I can pull out the little pieces that are between the letters, like the A and the B, the ones that are in the holes. I don't know if you understood, but I can't see them personally from where I'm filming, but maybe you can. So thanks for watching. I didn't have time to post any pictures here, and don't forget to check out everybody else's videos. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.